You ever notice how quiet the room gets? When you stop begging for their approval? When you stop lowering your voice? When you stop shrinking to make others feel comfortable? When you stop hiding your greatness just to keep their insecurities calm? Yeah, that silence, it ain't peace, it's fear. They're fear. Because they can't handle the king you've become. You've been walking through fire with your head down, hoping someone might offer you a hand. They didn't. They watched, they whispered, they laughed, and when you didn't break, they panicked. They expected you to fall apart, but you didn't. You refused to. And that scares the hell out of them. You see, most people can't understand a man who doesn't crumble under pressure. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't beg for their validation. They've only seen people conform, bend, break, and vanish. But you evolved. They labeled you arrogant, just because you finally chose to breathe without asking permission. They called you heartless, because you stopped bleeding for people who never offered a bandage. They said you changed. Damn right you did. You had to. You were tired of being the joke in someone else's comedy. Tired of wearing chains made of politeness and fake humility. Tired of apologizing for the fire inside your chest. So you burned the old script. The one they wrote for you. The one that kept you obedient, quiet, broken. And now, you walk with a silence that screams louder than any applause they ever gave you. You wear scars like armor. You don't beg, you command. But let me ask you something. How many times did they make you feel like you were too much, too intense, too emotional, too honest, too focused, too real? They told you to tone it down, didn't they? But the truth is, it wasn't that you were too much. It's that they were never enough to handle what you were becoming. You were never meant to blend in. You were built to stand alone, rise through the ashes, and wear your pain like a crown. This isn't about revenge. This is about resurrection. This is about owning the throne you bled for. Because kings aren't born in comfort. They're forged in darkness, built in silence, raised by pain. And now, the same people who tried to bury you, they're choking on the roots of the very tree they tried to kill. So don't explain your roar. Don't soften your edge. Don't dim your damn light. Because they can't handle the king you've become. And that's exactly the point. Let's talk about the part no one wants to admit. Rejection. That gut-punching silence. That cold stare. That moment you gave everything you had, and they acted like it wasn't enough. You know that feeling, don't you? When you stayed up all night believing in someone, yourself, and they just shrugged, like your dreams were a joke, like your passion was too loud, like your soul was a burden they never asked for. You opened your heart, wide and bleeding, and they closed the door right in your face. They ignored you, laughed behind your back, said you were delusional, trying too hard, chasing ghosts. But here's the truth. They never saw your vision, because it wasn't made for them. It was made for you. And sometimes, rejection isn't cruelty. It's proof that your path isn't meant to be crowded. They left? Let them. They couldn't handle your future anyway. But I know, it still hurt. That kind of pain doesn't just disappear. It carves itself into your chest. It whispers late at night. You're not good enough. It shows up when you try again, and that voice crawls back in. What if they're right? But you need to hear this. They weren't right. They were scared. Scared of your potential. Scared of your focus. Scared that you might actually become everything you said you would. And guess what? You are. Every time they doubted you, you got stronger. Every time they left, you got clearer. Every door that slammed in your face became a wall you learned to climb. That's what they don't understand. Rejection didn't break you. It built you. Because every king was once cast out. Every warrior was once underestimated. Every legend was once ignored. But legends don't beg to be seen. They become so undeniable, the world has no choice but to look. You remember the nights you cried quietly so no one would hear. The days you smiled through storms just to keep going. The moments you looked in the mirror and asked, "What's wrong with me?" Let me answer that for you. Nothing. There was never anything wrong with you. You were just surrounded by people who didn't have the depth to hold your storm. They wanted the watered-down version of you. The tame, polite, obedient version. But not the real one. Not the one with fire in your veins. Not the one with chaos in your heart and destiny in your eyes. And when you started waking up, when you stopped chasing and started building, they panicked. Because the same people who laughed when you had nothing are now whispering your name as you rise. And you will rise, not in spite of the rejection, but because of it. Because rejection lit the match. Pain kept it burning. And now, your glow is something they can't ignore. So if you're still bleeding from betrayal, good. That means your heart still works. If you still feel the sting of being cast aside, good. That means your story isn't over. And if you're still walking with that pain in your chest, wear it like a weapon. Because the next time they see you, it won't be the broken version they abandoned. It'll be the king. Unshaken, unapologetic, unstoppable. Because they can't handle the king you've become. And they never could. They told you how to walk, how to talk, how to think, how to act, how to dream. Or rather, how not to. They said, be nice, be quiet, be realistic. But what they really meant was, be small, be obedient, stay in your place, don't scare us with your potential. Because from the moment you took your first breath, this world had a box waiting for you. Neatly labeled, pre-packaged, and inside it, a blueprint, a prison disguised as a normal life. Go to school, get the job, play it safe, don't make waves, don't dream too big. Sound familiar? Yeah, that wasn't guidance, that was programming. They wanted another clone, not a king. And if you ever dared to step outside that box, you were difficult, too ambitious, hard to manage, too intense. Let's get one thing straight. You were never too much. They were just too limited. Society built walls around you, then blamed you for wanting to fly. They said, don't chase that. It's risky. Don't speak up. It's rude. Don't stand out. It's arrogant. But let me ask you something. What did playing it safe ever do for you? Did it fulfill you? Did it give you peace? Did it make you feel alive? Or did it bury your soul under a mountain of fake smiles, dead dreams, and quiet suffering? You see, their expectations were never about your growth. They were about their control. Because a man who knows his worth, a man who refuses to shrink, a man who walks like he owns the fire inside him, that man is dangerous. Because he doesn't follow blindly. He doesn't beg to be liked. He doesn't conform to survive. He creates to conquer. And that terrifies the system. So they tried to smother you. With rules, with guilt, with shame. They whispered, "Who do you think you are?" You know what the answer is now? I'm the storm you prayed would stay silent. I'm the fire you tried to drown. I'm the king you never saw coming. Every expectation they had for you was built on fear. Fear that if you ever woke up, if you ever stood tall, if you ever believed in your own damn power, you'd break everything they built to keep you small. And guess what? You did. You shattered it. Every lie, every limit, every box they tried to stuff you into. You broke the mold. You burned the script. You looked at the system and said, "You don't get to tell me who I am anymore." And yeah, it cost you. You lost people. You lost comfort. You lost the illusion of security. But what you gained yourself. The real you. The version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't apologize. Because you realize something most never do. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your evolution. You don't owe your family a watered-down version of you. You don't owe society a fake smile. You don't owe your past a future that looks exactly the same. You owe yourself one thing. Freedom. Freedom to walk your own path. To live with fire in your chest. To become something they could never predict. So if you feel like you're breaking away from everything you were taught to be, good. It means you're not dying. You're waking up. And when the world tells you, you're not supposed to act like that. You're not supposed to think that way. You're not supposed to want more. You look them dead in the eyes and say, "I wasn't built to be supposed to. I was built to be undeniable." Because kings don't follow blueprints. They draw maps. They blaze trails. They rewrite destinies. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let them squirm. Because you weren't put on this earth to keep the peace. You were put here to break the silence. To take everything they told you to suppress. The rage, the ambition, the hunger, the raw, unfiltered truth, and use it as fuel. Let this be the day you bury their expectations 6 feet deep. Let this be the day you stop apologizing for being awake in a world of sleepwalkers. Let this be the day you remember they can't handle the king you've become. Because you were never meant to be handled. You were meant to be remembered. There's a moment, a shift, when the pain doesn't paralyze you anymore, it powers you. When the tears you used to hide start turning into fuel. When silence is no longer your prison, it becomes your weapon. This is where you awaken. Not in comfort, not in applause, but in the middle of the chaos that was meant to destroy you. This is where the king is born. Because you didn't just survive. You transformed. You were a man once drowning in doubt. Now, you're a storm walking on water. They don't get it. They think strength is about being untouched. But you bled for this. You were beaten, bent, bruised, but never broken. And that's the part they can't understand. They didn't see the nights you screamed into your pillow. The mornings you woke up feeling like a ghost in your own skin. The days you dragged yourself through hell, wearing a smile just to survive. But that version of you, he didn't die. He evolved. He became steel. You know what they don't tell you? Fire doesn't just burn, it refines. Pressure doesn't just crush, it forges. And pain doesn't just wound. It wakes up the warrior inside, the man you are now. He was carved from every heartbreak, every betrayal, every fake friend, every locked door, every "you're not enough." And now look at you, still breathing, still standing, still fighting. Not because you're lucky, not because it got easier, but because somewhere along the line, you stopped waiting to be saved, and you became the weapon. You started using the darkness. You stopped fearing it. You let the fire in your chest grow wild, and instead of extinguishing it, you fed it. Because you realized something most men never do. The world doesn't respect the wounded. It respects the warrior who keeps fighting despite the wounds. You became that warrior. You became unbreakable, not by avoiding pain, but by staring it dead in the eye and saying, "Don't scare me anymore." And you meant it. You stopped being nice to the things that were killing you. You stopped playing humble when you had giants to slay. You stopped trying to be understood by people who were never meant to walk your path. Instead, you rose. You owned the monster inside, not to hurt the world, but to protect yourself from it. Because in this world, power is survival. And weakness is a luxury you can't afford. You turned your pain into purpose, your rage into focus, your silence into strategy. And now, I can feel it. When you enter a room, the air shifts. People watch their tone. They step carefully. Not because you're loud, not because you threaten, but because you carry something rare. Presence. Quiet, cold, commanding presence. That doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. Because you know who you are now. You've seen the worst. You've been broken into pieces and built yourself back with nothing but grit and fury. No shortcuts, no applause, just scars and self-respect. They don't see the fire that forged you. They just see the armor, the glare in your eyes, the weight in your voice when you say nothing at all. You've become a storm in human form, and storms don't apologize for thunder. So no, you don't fit in anymore. You don't get invited to the pity parties. You don't shrink just to make people feel safe. Because kings weren't made to blend in. Kings were made to rise, to stand on the ruins of everything that tried to kill them, to build castles from ashes, to wear crowns forged from chaos. And that's exactly what you've done. You are the proof that pain doesn't have to break you. It can build you into something untouchable. Let the world watch in silence. Let them whisper. Let them pretend they never doubted you. Because at the end of the day, they'll never understand what it cost to awaken this power inside you. But they'll feel it. Oh, they'll feel it. Every step you take now is heavier. Not because you're burdened, but because you're rooted. Rooted in truth, rooted in fire. Rooted in the fact that they can't handle the king you've become. And now, they'll never be able to stop him. Close your eyes. Block out the noise. Forget the titles, the followers, the opinions, the scars. Just you. And the mirror. Not the mirror on the wall. The one in your soul. The one that doesn't lie. The one that remembers everything you've been through. Look into it. Look deep. What do you see? Do you see the child who just wanted to be enough? Do you see the man who kept giving, even when he had nothing left? Do you see the battle wounds, some still open, still healing? Or do you see him? The version of you that never quit. The version that crawled through darkness when everyone else walked away. The version that stared down rejection, heartbreak, failure, and kept getting up. That's the real you. Not the broken pieces they tried to label. Not the doubts they planted in your mind. Not the pain you were forced to carry. You're not your scars. You're the one who survived them. And now it's time to stop asking the mirror what's wrong with you. And start asking, what the hell took me so long to see this power? You were never weak. You were never soft. You were never too much. You were becoming. Every scar was training. Every betrayal, a sharpening. Every loss, a preparation. You don't need to be liked. You don't need to be understood. You don't need to be normal. You need to be free. Free from the old version of you who kept explaining himself. Free from the guilt of outgrowing your past. Free from the shame they put on your shoulders like chains. Look in the mirror again. Do you see him now? That's not a man clinging to survival. That's a king learning to command. A king who's no longer waiting for permission. You don't have to prove anything. You are the proof. Proof that storms can create thrones. That silence can speak louder than rage. That pain doesn't define you. It refines you. So ask yourself, are you going to keep running from the mirror? Or are you finally ready to stand in it? To accept the crown that was always meant for you? Because they can't handle the king you've become. But now, the only question that matters is, can you? There comes a moment. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. But it changes everything. That moment when you stop waiting. Waiting for the apology. Waiting for the closure. Waiting for the respect. Waiting for them to finally see you. You just stop. And in that silence, something wakes up inside of you. Something cold, calm, unshakable. It whispers, no one's coming. And that's the point. Because kings don't rise by waiting to be chosen. They rise when they realize they were never meant to be picked. They were meant to build their own damn throne. And that's your moment. Right now. The moment you stop chasing what's behind you and start commanding what's in front of you. The moment you stop trying to be understood by the very people who misunderstood you on purpose. The moment you stop handing out explanations like candy to people who were never listening in the first place. You've done enough of that. You've bent. You've bowed. You've bit your tongue so hard it bled. For what? So they'd feel safe around your greatness. So they wouldn't be intimidated by your ambition. So they could feel powerful while you stayed small. Never again. You don't owe anyone comfort if it costs you your crown. You don't need a round of applause to validate your next step. You don't need their permission to own your power. You just need one thing. Decision. A cold-blooded, no looking back, no room for doubt decision. That you are done dimming your fire, done chasing ghosts, done shrinking so they don't flinch. Because you've carried the weight of their rejection long enough. You've lived in the shadows of their expectations long enough. You've worn the mask they gave you long enough. Now it's time to take it off. And when you do, they won't recognize you. Good. You were never supposed to be recognizable. You were supposed to be unforgettable. You were supposed to rise. So this is your turning point. The moment the victim dies and the king steps forward. The moment you stop explaining your pain and start weaponizing it. The moment your silence becomes strategy. Your scars become armor. Your presence becomes a threat. No more hoping they'll believe in you. No more begging them to stay. No more lowering your voice in rooms you were born to command. This is it. The line in the sand. The final goodbye to who you used to be. The rebirth of a man who answers to no one but his own fire. Because the people who once overlooked you will have no choice but to look up now. And the ones who left you behind will swear they always believed. They'll rewrite the story in their heads just to make themselves feel better. Let them. You know the truth. You remember who was there. You remember who went silent. And now, they'll remember too. Not because you begged to be seen, but because you became impossible to ignore. That's what this moment is. The turning point. From broken to bulletproof. From forgotten to feared. From overlooked to undeniable. Because they still don't get it. They thought they buried you. But you weren't a body. You were a seed. And now you rise. Not for them. Not to prove a damn thing. But because you finally see what they never could. The king you were born to be. Do you ever wonder why you're still breathing? After everything. After the betrayal. After the nights you couldn't sleep. After the days you felt like a ghost walking through your own life. You're still here. Still standing. Still rising. Not because it was easy. Not because you had a map. Not because someone came to save you. But because something inside of you refused to die. That's your fire. And no one gave it to you. No one handed it over as a gift. No one lit it for you. You built it. Out of loneliness. Out of rage. Out of disappointment and silence. And every broken promise you swallowed like poison. You built it in the cold. In the dark. In the quiet hours when no one was watching. You fed it with every failure. Every no. Every you're not enough. Every slammed door. Every fake friend. Every damn time they said you'd never make it. didn't scream. You didn't whine. You didn't post a quote and call it growth. You got to work. You put your head down. You bled. You broke. You learned. And in that darkness, you didn't just survive. You transformed. Because fire doesn't just warm you. It changes you. It takes the weak parts and burns them down. It takes the lies you believed and melts them into truth. It takes the victim inside you and replaces it with something lethal. A man on fire doesn't beg, he builds. And that's what you've done. You've built a new standard, a new spine, a new mind. One forged in pressure, not praise. Let's be real. No one clapped for you when you were grinding in the dark. No one checked in when you were losing sleep chasing your vision. No one offered help when you were drowning. But now they'll talk like they always believed. Now they'll want to sit at your table. Let them watch. Let them see what becomes of a man who chooses to rise alone. Because the fire inside you, it's not just survival now. It's power, it's strategy, it's unstoppable focus. You don't react anymore. You respond. Calculated, cold, clear. You don't cry over closed doors. You build walls with them. And then you knock those walls down just to show you can. You don't explain your pain anymore. You use it. You lift with it. Work with it. Lead with it. And it shows. They can feel it in the way you move. No hesitation. No need for applause. No desperation in your voice. Just intent. Just purpose. Just a quiet, dangerous knowing that you're not the same man anymore. You've tasted loss. You've swallowed regret. You've stared down your own demons. And instead of running, you sat with them. You studied them. You learned from them. Now you walk with something no one can fake. Depth. You've been to hell and made peace with it. Now hell moves out of your way. Because when a man truly builds the fire within, he becomes untouchable. Not because he's perfect, not because he's fearless, but because he knows what it took to get here. And he's not going back. So let the world throw whatever it wants. Let the weak talk. Let the cowards gossip. Let the fake ones disappear. You're not chasing anything anymore. You're becoming everything you were meant to be. And if that makes you unrelatable, too intense, too much, good. Because kings don't tone it down. Kings amplify. Kings walk with the weight of every lesson burned into their soul. This fire you carry now, it's sacred. It's not rage. It's not ego. It's not revenge. It's clarity. You know who you are. You know what you're worth. You know no one's taking it from you ever again. So breathe deep. Feel that burn in your chest. That's not anger. That's power. And it's not for them to understand. It's not for them to handle. Because you didn't build this fire to keep anyone else warm. You built it to become the king they swore you'd never be. You ever notice how the air feels different now? How people look at you just a little longer? How the same ones who used to ignore you now speak your name with caution. They don't say it out loud, but you can feel it. They know something's changed. They sense it in your silence. They see it in your eyes. That calm, cold fire that doesn't need approval anymore. You've risen, not because someone handed you a throne, Not because they finally gave you permission, but because you took back everything they tried to steal from you. And now, you walk different. You don't rush. You don't explain. You don't apologize. Because a man who's rebuilt himself from the rubble of rejection doesn't bow anymore. He doesn't flinch when the past calls his name. He doesn't react when the crowd screams. He rises above the noise, above the doubt, above the people who swore they were just being honest when they broke you down. They weren't being honest. They were being afraid. Afraid of what would happen if you ever believed in yourself. Afraid of what would happen if you ever stopped needing them. Afraid of the fire they saw in your eyes. The one they tried to put out with their advice and fake concern. But fire doesn't die in storms. It evolves. And so did you. You stopped answering calls from the past. You stopped sitting at tables where you had to earn your place. You stopped shrinking to keep others comfortable. You rose. But don't get it twisted. Rising isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming. Reclaiming your time, your energy, your identity. Because you spent years being who they wanted you to be. And it nearly killed you. You wore the mask, played the role, nodded when you should have roared. But not anymore. Now every step you take is heavier. Not because you carry pain, but because you carry power. Your presence is not something to understand. It's something to feel. It shakes the room. Because you don't talk the same. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase a damn thing. You are the thing they're chasing now. And those who tried to cage you with their opinions, they're watching now. Mouths shut, eyes wide. Because they know you became something untouchable. You stopped reacting. You started leading. Not with words, but with weight. The weight of knowing who you are. The weight of every scar you turned into wisdom. The weight of every time you chose to rise instead of break. And people feel it. They start second-guessing how they treated you. They question the lies they told about you. They whisper now, not because they doubt you, but because they're afraid they were wrong. They were. They thought you were fragile, but you were becoming unshakable. They thought you'd disappear, but you were becoming undeniable. They thought your silence meant weakness, but you were just busy rising. And now, they can't reach you, because you've risen above the drama, above the games, above the fear, the fake support, the shallow love. You've risen above the need to be liked, above the hunger to be accepted, above the noise that once distracted you from your calling. And from up here, you see everything clearly. You see the people who loved you for what you gave, not for who you were. You see the ones who disappeared the moment you needed them. You see the places you outgrew. Wonder why you ever stayed so long. That clarity, it's brutal, but it's liberating. Because once you rise, you can't go back. You won't go back. There's nothing left for you down there. Not in that place of doubt. Not in the opinions of people who don't even know who they are. Not in the rooms where your presence had to be explained. Up here, you breathe easier. You move with intention. You speak only when it matters. Because kings don't argue with pawns. They don't entertain every challenge. They choose their wars, and they win them in silence. This is what rising feels like. It's not flashy. It's not loud. It's not posted for likes or validation. It's internal. It's sacred. It's irreversible. You've crossed a line. And on the other side of that line, there's no going back. There's only forward. Only higher. Only deeper into the man you were always meant to become. The kind of man who carries his legacy in his presence. The kind of man who doesn't need to be announced. Because when he enters the room, the air shifts. That's you now. A walking contradiction to everything they expected. Too sharp to be dull. Too deep to be shallow. Too focused to be distracted. And that's exactly why they can't handle the king you've become. Stop pretending this is just a phase. Stop acting like you're still figuring it out. Still finding yourself. Still trying your best. You're not trying anymore. You're becoming. Own it. Own the nights you didn't sleep. Own the scars they can't see. Own the anger, the fire, the silence you mastered while they mocked your pain. This isn't some temporary breakthrough. This is you. Reborn, rewired, reforged. You're not the same man who used to beg for attention. Not the man who tolerated disrespect just to feel seen. Not the one who chased people that didn't value his presence. That version of you is gone. And what replaced him? A presence that doesn't flinch. A heart that doesn't beg. A fire that doesn't go out. You've become a storm with discipline. A monster with restraint. A king with focus. It's time to stop apologizing for your evolution. You didn't get here by accident. You fought for this. You bled for this. So wear it. Walk with it. Let it echo in your silence. Because this version of you, he's not here to be liked. He's not here to be tolerated. He's here to lead, to command, to own everything they said you couldn't be. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them whisper behind your back. Because you're no longer part of their game. You're past them. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And they feel it. They feel the weight of your growth. They feel the shift in your gaze. They feel the crown you no longer hide. You own the transformation. Because every second of it was earned. This isn't ego. This is evidence. Proof that no matter what they said, what they did, what they tried to break inside you, you rose anyway. And now, you don't chase, you attract. You don't wait, you move. You don't explain. You exist. Unapologetic, unbreakable, unstoppable. Because they can't handle the king you've become. Finally, you can. You're standing at the edge. Behind you, everything you used to be. The doubt, the fear, the broken identity they handed you and called normal. A path only you can walk. No guarantees, no applause, just truth. So choose. Go back to who you were. Back to silence. Back to shrinking. Back to the comfort of being unseen. Back to begging for space at tables that were never built for kings. Or step forward. Own the crown. Walk with that fire in your chest. Speak with that weight in your voice. Live like the war inside you wasn't for nothing. Because it wasn't. You didn't come this far just to turn around. You didn't bleed just to be normal again. You didn't fight just to go unnoticed. You came here to choose, and once you choose, there's no going back. Because the moment you say, "I am not who I was," you burn the bridges to everything that tried to bury you. So go ahead. Step over that line. Let them watch. Let them doubt. Let them whisper. You won't hear them anymore. Because now, you're walking with the crown. You're carrying the weight of your own becoming. And from this moment on, you're either all in, or you're nothing. So what's it gonna be, King? Enough waiting, enough stalling, enough doubting, enough apologizing. This is not a motivational quote. This is not a feel-good moment. This is a command. Get up. You've sat in the pain long enough. You've carried the weight long enough. You've waited for a sign long enough. This is it. No more excuses. No more hoping they'll come back. No more waiting to be ready. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to move anyway. Because kings don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them. They make decisions in the storm. They act with fire in their chest and war in their veins. So I need you to decide, right here, right now. Are you going to keep letting life push you around? Or are you going to punch back? Are you going to keep explaining your pain? Or are you going to channel it? Every second you hesitate, someone weaker gets ahead. Every moment you sit in silence, the world forgets your name. You weren't built to be forgotten. You were built to leave a mark, to disrupt, to destroy comfort zones and rebuild with purpose. So start now. Pick up the pen, hit the gym, launch the thing, cut the dead weight, block the noise. Do what needs to be done. No more talking, no more seeking comfort, no more halfway. You go all in, or you don't go at all. Because the truth is, they're watching. The ones who doubted you, the ones who left, the ones who hoped you'd stay small. Prove them wrong without saying a word. Let your actions scream. Let your presence choke their doubt. Let your rise be their reminder. You don't need validation. You need movement. So move, act, conquer. Because they can't handle the king you've become. And now, you're about to show them exactly why. One day they'll tell stories about the man who didn't fold, the man who didn't beg, the man who rose from nothing but fire and silence. They won't remember every detail, but they'll remember the feeling. The chill when you walked in, the pressure when you spoke, the shift in the air when you stood your ground. You'll become more than memory. You'll become myth. The one they swore would fail. The one they laughed at. The one they left behind. Who became the one they couldn't escape? Not through envy. Not through denial. Not through time. Because legends aren't made through approval. They're forged in pain. They're built in silence. They rise in darkness. That's you now. Not a man chasing legacy, but living it. So if you felt this, if this hit your soul like truth wrapped in thunder, subscribe. Hit that bell, like, share, pass the crown. Because somewhere out there, another king is waking up. And your rise is the spark he's been waiting for.